my God, guys, thank you so much for making it here. This is the 160th episode of the Spenser Walsh Show, and you guys have stuck with us to the very point that we are now. I was going to say to the very end, but we are nowhere near done. Yeah, we've only been around for a year. It's not that big. I mean, come on. Thank you so much for sticking with us through all the badness, the silliness, the craziness, and the occasional fun that we've had over the past 160 episodes in just about 1 year. Or really be officially celebrating our first show on January 3rd. But today is the show that reviews the past year. I know we still have about a week left, but still, I mean, I guess we gotta wrap things up already. And how much can happen in 1 week, right? It sounds like I'm gonna jinx it, but today we will be exploring the biggest news and sports stories in 2017. The best songs, our elusive, 50 song countdown that will be coming up later in today's live show. As well as the rise of rap and the return of Nintendo and technology. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be a very interesting show. It's going to be a fast-moving, high-flying live show beginning right now at 12 noon as we record this live. So buckle in, get ready, because we're about to get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for a pretty serious segment, so get ready, buckle in for a recap of the biggest news stories of 2017. First, the inauguration of President Donald Trump. I mean, obviously, the main big thing with that one was the crowd size, of course. That was a pretty spectacular way to kick off the presidency of Donald Trump. It was a basic lie about what the crowd size was. So first, what happened was the crowd size dwarfed Obama's two ceremonies. I mean, all that white space. I mean, really, you've probably pretty much at this point heard every joke in the book about that. But then the next day, Sean Spicer comes out and says, this was the biggest crowd to ever witness an inauguration, period. And that was pretty funny. He turned that into a good joke at the Emmys or whatever award show it was. And then he was inaugurated, and that leads us to our next big moment of 2017, the largest single day of protest in history, the Women's March. So after the day Trump assumed office, millions of people, took to the streets and cities around the country to participate in the Women's March, advocating for women's rights and LGBTQ rights in particular. It was the largest single day of protest in U.S. history, and the Washington Post counted at least 653 separate marches across the country involving 3 million to 5,000 participants. This is, by the way, Newsweek reporting. Many marchers donned pink pussy hats, with organizers explaining and make a collective visual statement with activists, which will help activists be really better heard. And the thing was, everybody here was an activist. It was something that got aggressive, and it got aggressive pretty fast. It was really a mind-changing situation, this one. And it was something that really showed showed how many people across the country were fired up by the election of Donald Trump, the people who wanted to motivate, who wanted more from Trump. And it was just kind of a plea, like, this presidency is starting. We know it'll be a rough ride, but just please don't do too many bad things to women. But anyway, so also, how could we forget one of the other big stories was 2017. In 2017 was the Russia investigation. So, while testifying before the House Committee on Intelligence in March, then FBI Director James Comey confirmed the Bureau was investigating Russian interference in the U.S. election and any links between individuals associated with Trump and the campaign and the Russian government, and whether there was any coordination between the campaign and Russian efforts. Trump fired Comey suddenly in May after the president allegedly spoke to Comey about dropping the FBI's investigation into former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn, who is now indicted. That's been a big following story throughout this entire week. Comey wrote his this entire year, actually. Comey wrote his big in his February 14th meeting with the president in a memo, details of which were first reported by the New York Times, later confirmed to ABC News by sources close to Comey. According to a source who read the memo, Comey shared with top FBI associates. Comey wrote that Trump said, I hope you can see your way to letting this go. Flynn is a good guy. I hope you can let this go. So obviously pretty much a bold obstruction of justice there, or asking someone to obstruct justice. Trump's alleged request to Comey about the investigation came the day after Flynn was forced to resign after misleading the administration about his contacts with Russian officials. Trump repeatedly denied asking Comey to halt an investigation into Flynn. I never asked Comey to stop investigating Flynn. He said just more fake news covering another Comey lie. So he went after Comey a lot. The former FBI director was attacked pretty significantly by the president, saying that Comey was a liar, and really by the entire conservative base, a group who, kicked Bill Clinton out of office, but then when it came to their guy, they really went pretty, they circled the ranks. So, of course, one of the biggest stories that really kind of the underrated stories of the year was the massive fire engulfing a residential high-rise building in London in the early morning hours of July 14th. Since then, London's Metropolitan Police Services, they search every apartment on every floor of the communal area of the 24-story Grenfell Tower and examined 15.5 tons of debris on each floor. It was a really devastating fire, and the death toll stood around 71 after recovering and identifying all those believed to have died in the blaze. Police previously estimated that about 80 people died in that fire, which started a refrigerator on the 4th floor and raced all the way to the top of the house within minutes. Many of the survivors still are displaced and without permanent housing, as now the Grenfell Tower on June was really burned to the ground very tragically on the morning of June 14th, 2017. And you can see just a few days later, it's still, literally looks like you would expect to see Sauron from Lord of the Rings at the top. It really is quite a scary, scary situation to see that blazing in such a way. So, also, the hurricane onslaught cannot be overstated here. 3 monster hurricanes ravaged Texas, Florida, and Puerto Rico and other Caribbean islands within a 4-week span. Hurricane Harvey made landfall in Texas on August 25th, killing more than 80 people in the Lone Star State and causing an estimated $150 billion in damage. Hurricane Irma made landfall twice in southern Florida on September 10th, killing scores of people there and elsewhere in the United States as well as in the Caribbean. Among those killed were residents of a nursing home that lost air conditioning in Hollywood, Florida, and the devastation caused some believe by climate change, but it was still a devastating situation. Natural disasters, a big part of this year. So, Hurricane Maria slammed into Puerto Rico on September 20th, damaging thousands of homes and wiped out power to the entire U.S. territory. Nearly 3 months after the storm hit, the island's power grid was operating at only 70% of capacity. The Puerto Rican government said the number of deaths traceable to the calamitous storm was 64, but independent analysis have put that number in the thousands. So this is about more than numbers. These lives are real people leaving behind loved ones and families, Ricardo Rossello, that's the Puerto Rico Republican governor, to order a review of every death on the island since Maria. So it was a very big deal. And of course, another big story. And it's really quite incredible. Just to give you a testament, I'm reading these stories. I was like, oh my God. When I think of the biggest stories in 2017, I don't even think of that. It was insane how many awful, crazy stories there were in 2017. And probably one of the most awful was the Las Vegas mass shooting. Stephen Paddock, a 64-year-old retired accountant, high-stakes video poker player, opened fire on an outdoor music festival along Las Vegas Strip from 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino on October 1st. 58 people were killed and hundreds more were wounded, making it the deadliest mass shooting in modern U.S. history. Authorities found Paddock dead inside his tomb suite along an arsenal of weapons. So the Clark County office of the coroner medical examiner later determined that Paddock, a resident of Mesquite, Nevada, had committed suicide by shooting himself in the mouth. Questions about the gunman's motive for the shooting remain unanswered. So yeah, there's still a lot we do not know about this. This months after it happened, that was October 5th, 2017, where that original. Sorry, that was October 1st, 2017, during the music festival. Really, just some terror, some horror kind of raining down as the bullets came down through the sky on the 34th floor of Mandalay. The 32nd floor of the Mandalay Bay Resort and Casino on October 1st. And obviously the grieving still will probably, for a lot of the people who lost those victims, those 58 will really be will definitely actually last a lifetime. So sexual misconduct allegations were a big thing this year, especially in the latter half, with Me Too and a deluge of sexual misconduct allegations were made against some of the most powerful men in politics, media, and the entertainment industry. The issues are nothing new, but the year's worldwide wave of accusations was unprecedented and seemed to pour out of reports surfacing in early October about the movie magnate Harvey Weinstein, who was accused of sexually assaulting and harassing or assaulting numerous women for decades. Weinstein, of course, has acknowledged the inappropriate behavior, but has denied any accusations of non-consensual sex, which we all know is BS completely. Yeah. So I'm not even going to justify putting his defense there on air. He's been proven, accused by so many women. He's been proven time and time again to be such a creep that his defense really not worthy there. The hashtag MeToo went viral on social media in the wake of the allegations as countless women and some men around the world were emboldened to tell their stories. Along with Weinstein, many women, many of the accused men have suffered consequences, including some of the ones on the top of my head. Louis C.K., Harvey Weinstein, we all just talked about Harvey Weinstein, Kevin Spacey, Matt Lauer was a big one, Roy Moore in the Alabama Senate race. I mean, it's stretched through politics with Al Franken, Blake Farenthold, the founding member of the Black Caucus, John Conyers. So it was really something that stretched everywhere from Hollywood to politics, from Hollywood to Washington, D.C. It was really quite a pervasive story in the past few months. So North Korea weapons testing really ratcheted up this year as well. Tensions between the United States and North Korea were sky high this year, with leaders of the two countries exchanging threats in schoolyard taunts like Dotard and Little Rocket Man. But the tensions were exacerbated by North Korea's threats of a hydrogen bomb and of ballistic missiles that could potentially reach the U.S. mainland. North Korea conducted over a dozen ballistic missile tests in 2017, and the latest was November 29th, when North Korea tested a new nuclear-capable weapon that could allegedly reach the entire continental United States. North Korean state television said the new intercontinental ballistic missile, which is called a Hwasong-15, was significantly more powerful than the previous long-range ICBM the country had tested. So it was a big deal, and the United States Department of Defense said the missile did not pose a threat to North America, its territories, or its allies, but some say it could be. Some say if they do straighten out the trajectory, it could put places like Chicago and some places even on the East Coast in range. So, I mean, obviously, one of the biggest threats was really a nuclear North Korea. And now we get to the NFL players protesting during the national anthem. The phenomenon, of course, started in 2016 NFL preseason when San Francisco 49ers quarterback Colin Kaepernick started kneeling before games to raise awareness for social injustice, including police brutality against black Americans. But the protests really took off over the next year, with players from across the league joining Colin Kaepernick's refusal to stand for the national anthem. And the thing was, Trump really kind of added to this furor here, because he made some comments at an Alabama political rally where he said those SOBs better stand for the national anthem or they should be cut from the team. And then